Hey, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here. This is the Doug Show Live. This is our weekly live stream. Today we're talking side hustles and online business, and generally we're going to be catching up with my friends, Heather Farris and Brooks Conkle. So we're just going to have kind of a roundtable discussion. I'm glad there's going to be people here in the chat, but let's hear from each of you just real quick. So Heather, how's it going today? What have you been up to?
Today's my content day, so you're catching me on a good day. It's the day I film videos and write newsletters and all that good stuff. So that's what I've been working on is content.
Very cool. And we kind of met a few weeks ago when you were on this very live stream, and you made some good comments, and I was like, hey, do you want to come on live? Because I hit like some kind of a mental block. And then you hopped on, you stayed on for like 10 minutes. The cool thing is you're doing like a takeover of my channel this week purely by accident because your interview came out yesterday and it's doing awesome, by the way.
I know, I shared it today too. I have some more sharing too, but
it was really pretty fun doing the interview. And I was like, hey, maybe we'll do a live stream, and it worked out to be today. So I'm glad to have you here, and we'll talk a little bit about Pinterest and some of the things that you're up to, but that's your story, right? Like you're a Pinterest expert and educator currently.
That's my story.
All right. And I don't know anything about that stuff other than what you told me last week, but we'll learn
you didn't listen
to. And Brooks, welcome. How's it going today?
It's going pretty good. I suck so bad at Pinterest. I could use infinite help and tips. I don't even know if we do anything on Pinterest. I'm doing good. We're negotiating with insurance for a truck. I've got a foster dog behind me. I'm trying to wrangle. I'm still playing around with the ChatGPT operator. So I literally got it rolling in my window right here. It's like a 7-year-old genius. It's kind of weird. We could talk about that if y'all want to. And then I got some like domain name investing stuff that I've been working on the last 24 hours.
Gotcha. So. Very good. And you've been on the channel a few times. Our story is that we met at the Bald Gentleman's Conference a few years ago. No, just kidding. It was at FinCon in Orlando, and then we've bumped into each other every couple of years since then. And I was going to tell you, my hair started growing back, so I'm not going to be going to that same old conference like we used to.
You gonna grow it out? You going long again?
I'm just kidding. My hair didn't start growing back. All right, we have Paula in the chat and Z Shan as well. So welcome. Feel free to ask questions. Like I said, we're just going to be going back and forth, and I'll open up because I've been doing something a little bit different in the last week, and a lot of people don't know, but I am like a home brewer. So I brew beer, and I got really into it many years ago. I think I started like 18 years ago, which is kind of crazy, but I became a beer judge, which requires a lot of study, and it's actually a very difficult test to do. And that was back in Georgia. I moved to Montana a few years ago, and I realized this is a state of 1 million people, yet there's only like 5 or 6 beer judges. So I started doing some classes. I'm a high ranking judge. So I was like, I'll do some classes. I taught some people and moved away a few years later. I've been here in Colorado for about 5 years, but I still have friends up in Montana, and from the homebrew club, they often end up working in breweries. So I know probably like 20 people that work at various breweries in Montana. Last weekend, they had the Montana Beer Awards, and my friends were like, hey, do you want to come up and judge? So I went up on Wednesday and judged beer essentially full time from like 8:30 in the morning until, 5, judging beer all day long. And it was a blast. It was super fun, but very tiring because, you don't sleep that well. You do. They do provide lunch, and we stayed at the Best Western in Helena, Montana. So there's like the complimentary, pretty decent breakfast as well. But yeah, you end up, you're not drinking a ton, but like, each judging session.
Over time.
Yeah. Yeah. And then other times you do, because like after you finish, do you know what brewers like to do? They drink beer. They drink beer, and everyone works in a brewery and everybody knows each other. So it was like hell in a beer week. So I am currently letting my my liver recover and I finally started sleeping better now that I'm back home. But it was awesome. I had a great time. I want to go back up and like hang out with my friends up there, and everyone's really cool. It's super interesting because like I think each of us are in different subcultures that have their own lingo and vocabulary, and like people are obsessed. And part of it is like online business. Sometimes it's, you know, some other hobby. Some people are in gardening. In my case, it's also beer. So like just deep in beer, talking beer constantly. And it was super fun. So anyway, that's what I've been up to in the last week. And I didn't think anything about online marketing at all.
That's
Question:
fantastic.
When you do a full day of beer judging, like about how much do you end up drinking over a full day of beer judging? I mean, it seems like even by just doing whatever you do, you would consume a lot of beer during the day.
Yeah, you're right. So basically we could judge a beer with about a 2-ounce sample. And typically the flights were about, we'll call it like 7 beers seven different beers on average. That's about 14 ounces. And then we may do a few of the like 2 to 3 per morning and afternoon session. So it ends up being about 2 beers in the morning and then like 2 in the afternoon. I was quite busy, so I didn't have like much time to grab a beer during lunch, but some people will like have a beer during lunch. And you could certainly drink a little bit less, but like really 1 ounce is like kind of the minimum. But like I said, then it was Hell in a Beer Week. Like they organized it that way. So you go out and there's an event and they're like all like, these are other fellow brewers from around the state. They want to show off their beer. There's a few of us that came from out of state, and they're like, yeah, like, thanks for coming. Like, this is a big deal, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, yeah, a few beers per day. And then the big party day, I think when I counted, I was like, ooh, there was a lot of beers that day. It may have been, I mean, it could have been like 13. I mean, it was a lot of beers all through the day. Fun times. Yeah. You don't sleep that well when you do that. Yeah. Nobody did.
Yeah.
What kind
Not
of
anymore.
beer is it? We're going to talk about beer for a second. What kind of beer is it? I buy beer for my husband, but I don't drink beer. So like he likes a lot of wheat beers and like Hefeweizens and things like that. Is it like a variety, or is it like strictly like American clear beer?
It is a full variety. So
yeah,
I think there may have been like 20 different categories or something like that. So it ranged from like some of my favorites are Belgian beers. So it was like Belgian, there were hazies, there were some light American beers like you're describing, hoppy lagers, other kind of lagers. Yeah, just full range. Fruit beers, spice beers. 2 beers that were very good were like pepper beers. It was like a jalapeno and habanero cream ale, right? Yeah, so
I would like that.
Interesting stuff.
They sound good, but I just can never get past the taste of hops.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So.
That was one of the early things that I had an issue with. But like many like drinks, like I didn't like scotch or bourbon or whiskey in the past, but if you like, I kept drinking it. And then finally you get past it. So yeah, I see we have a few other folks in the chat. So David, thanks for popping on. And we have Matt on here too. Matt Thompson said, glad I caught this. I guess Matt saw the interview with me and you,
Sweet.
Heather, I think.
Yeah, 1,000 subs. That's amazing.
Very cool. All right. Well, let's hear from you guys. So thanks for letting me do the monologue there all about beer.
That was cool.
Thanks. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And yeah, it was so much fun. It's a fun thing to do. Very tiring, but
I need to get my husband in on this beer judging. Maybe there's something like this in the Netherlands he can do.
Yeah. There are, I mean, you can get a lot of really good Belgian beers in the Netherlands. It's right next door after all. And yeah, there's so many good ones, and they have a great beer culture in the Netherlands there too. So,
yeah.
Okay. So I'm curious, Brooks. You were talking about ChatGPT, and I saw your recent video where you went with what's the most premium model? Tell us what you're working on and what you've learned so far.
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, day in, day out, I'm like in AI tool. Like, I just force myself daily to use them. Like now I open up my tab, and as of yesterday, I actually have Grok is actually my default, the first thing that opens up in my browser, just because I just want to like remind myself to use it and test it. There's a lot of talk going on that like Grok 3 is like even better than the other tools like ChatGPT and Gemini and stuff, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, so man, so I upgraded ChatGPT. Like I paid $20 a month, but like last month I paid for the premium $200 a month just because I just wanted to test out their like deep research and the operator thing. And so operator, if people don't know, it's literally like a virtual agent. Like you give it instructions and it's physically doing things on the computer, like doing research for you or going to websites and clicking and stuff like that. It's nuts because you're seeing the future. Like this is, and it's like the worst that it'll ever be. I always say that with everything that I post and talk about. I'm like, man, this is the worst AI will ever be. It is not super great right now. I mean, like it's not. It is worse than you doing it, or it's probably worse than you giving an assistant the task as well. Currently, I kind of describe it as like a 7-year-old. Like it's like your genius 7-year-old, and he's got like a little like plate of cookies beside him, and there's like a playground outside, and you're like, hey, I need you to do this, and he's doing it, but he's getting like sidetracked and stopping and asking you questions and looking outside at the playground. But it's cool, man. It's pretty wild. Have y'all heard of it or tested it or anything?
Heard of it, not tested.
Okay.
New to me. Like I didn't even know that was a thing. I just paid for the $20 a month ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And I also paid for Claude, which I think now I'm reminding myself I need to go cancel that subscription for now because I'm just not using it.
What's interesting about that? I don't know about y'all, but like, so I've hopped between them all. So I use Claude for a month, and then I was like, okay, and I was like, no, now ChatGPT is cool. I actually have a team member that I share it with, and she just uses my login, so I keep paying for it. And then I paid for Gemini for a month, just to see what's going on with that. It's so interesting because I'm finding like no brand loyalty to these things because they're all so similar and they're shipping so fast and all these changes are happening so fast that I'm like, you definitely don't need like a subscription to all of them. That's for sure. You could kind of just pick what you like and go from there, I think.
I've been paying $20 for the GPT Plus over on OpenAI, and I did use Claude until they started charging, and I was like, it's probably fine. They seem roughly equivalent, but I pay for the like Google Drive stuff. So I'm paying like whatever, $200 a year or something, which you get essentially premium Gemini and premium Notebook LM. And at this point, and I think I told both of you guys like offline at some point, like I'm basically doing very little work and I'm like cutting expenses and my revenue's way down and it's all planned. But essentially like I'm not paying for software that I'm not using. I'm letting domains go. I'm canceling hosting. Like I'm trimming costs because I don't need this stuff anymore. And there's no reason for me to pay OpenAI or whatever. So I have been thinking I'm just going to cancel OpenAI because like Gemini just rolled out a new Pro something. And then there's like more features on Notebook LM, which seems like the kind of tool that I have been looking for where, you have the power of Gemini, but you don't have the hallucinations. You don't have other nonsense making it into your content and just a different way to, use some of the tools. So now, Brooks, with Operator, you mentioned it could take some action on its own. Like, what are you literally having it do? Like, can you walk us through like a task and like how you set it up and all that?
Yeah. So imagine literally you're seeing the screen. Imagine you're looking over the shoulder of someone and you're seeing their computer screen, basically. That's kind of what the view you get. You literally are watching a browser. So I'm looking over here at this browser and it's got like 30 tabs open. I'm looking at it. And what I'm doing is I'm researching plumbing companies. So this is kind of interesting. This one specifically, I'm researching plumbing companies that have a website, but maybe like their domain name is like long and funky and it's weird. And I want it to help me save those for us to potentially reach out to. And so that's an example. I've gotten it to follow. I created a Twitter account, an X account for domain name. It's called Domain Name Lover, and all the we now have like 1,200 accounts that we follow, and we have some followers back. All that was done by Operator. So I strategically was like, hey, I want to follow accounts that are like talking about domain name investing and this and that. Again, the end result, super cool. Like it's actually doing that. Like this virtual, called a virtual, the AI assistant is doing that. To get there, totally suck. Like like stopping all the time. Hey, do you want me to do this? There's tons of interaction. Like you have to say like, yes, I'm okay with that. Go ahead. If there's a CAPTCHA, like you have to solve it. It is not the same as you giving someone that job. Like I could have followed those 1,200 people in like, 30 minutes of my time, or I don't know, an hour of my time. It's probably like 4 hours of back and forth work, like going back to the browser and chatting with it. But I'm just as interested in like testing these tools as I am about the actual like outcome of what they're giving me right now. Mm-hmm. But that's me, and that's personal. And that's a part of like also my brand and like me talking about the stuff too. So
part of it too, like if you were hiring an assistant, like you would have to answer all these questions and teach them, right? Like you always slow down mm-hmm. before you speed up.
Mm-hmm.
It's rare that somebody comes in fully qualified.
100%. And like, I think that's what I'm saying. I think it'll get there. Like this is obviously this is like inning one of this product. Like obviously it's going to get there where if you give it, clear instructions, it's going to be able to go out better. And as you like probably work with it more often, it starts to understand like what your needs are and stuff like that. Inning one of this, like this specific product with them. It's wild.
Heather, did you have something?
Yeah, I have a bot that I built for Pinterest specifically that I also sell. And I'm trying to work it to where I can merge the bot and another tool that I sell. And it's like a tool based in Google Sheets where the bot can then feed information into Google Sheets. Brooks, do you know how to do that? I need inside his brain.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I was gonna ask, what did you build the bot with? Is it like one of these? Huh?
It's OpenAI. I use ChatGPT for it.
Okay. ChatGPT like helped you build it. Yeah, I don't know the answer, but I know it's figure outable, and I don't think it's that crazy to do.
I think it's on my to-do later list of figuring that out. I got quoted a mini tool build for $14,000 doing exactly what I want to do. And I don't really want to build a piece of software that I then have to keep updated. I'd rather just like integrate my bot into the spreadsheet or show my customers how to do that on their own. So then they can just connect the two and they can communicate.
Yeah, actually, what would probably do it? Like what probably will work is oh, cool, Paula. What probably will work? Make.com or Zapier would probably that's 100% probably what you need. Like so,
Zap tool.
What is it?
Like a Zap tool. So Zapier.
It's like a Zap. So yeah. Make is like Zap, just like infinitely less expensive. I feel like the learning curve is a little bit greater, but it would 100% tie together. Whatever your tool is, you tie it to Google Sheets, like it integrates, and then it can take an action based on whatever you ask it to do. That's probably your answer.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've done stuff with Zapier before too, and usually it works well until the API like disconnects or whatever, and then you have to, there's always some kind of fucking thing that messes up, but that always happens. Very, very good. So I haven't used like the higher level stuff, but to your point, I think I am going to trim some of this, like, I'll just use Gemini. I'm not doing a ton of writing, where I think I hear Claude is a little bit better, and I thought so for a while, but everything changes, and I obviously don't use all the tools anyway.
It changes so fast. Doug, the one that you mentioned with Gemini, I pay for Google Workspace. Is that what you're talking about? It's like integrated in, or did you have to upgrade?
So I don't do the workspace. I pay for like extra drive space, which I can't remember what that's called. It's like Google One, and then you get a handful of things. And I think I'm paying for like 5 terabytes. And then it's $250 a year or something like that. So, yeah, basically with the Notebook LM and Gemini, I think you get all those features there. So
yeah,
it seems like Workspace should probably have it. That's more like the suite of products or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's like Google Drive on steroids. You get, I can control everyone that I put an email address into my system for, and like, it's like Microsoft Office except for the Google's version.
Okay. Yep. That's what I thought. And
Paula has it. She's got an answer for me.
Yep. Should be coming out pretty soon. All right. We're going to say something, Brooks?
Yeah. I was just going to say, it is all changing so fast, and they're like, everything that was paid is now becoming free, and it's happening really quickly. So like, I could totally see Google like pulling that down into that account. Like ChatGPT is doing it, like Grok's do. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And is my camera okay, by the way? I just popped out of focus or something like that. But okay, just making sure my little viewfinder's flashing at me, and I'm like, that seems bad.
You're a little out of focus now.
Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah, it's like slightly out of focus, but it's not a big deal.
Okay. Yeah, nobody needs to see me anyway. Okay.
You still look good, man. You look good.
So, Heather, what's been going on with you the last couple of weeks here? What are you working on?
Well, I traveled to Vegas last week for a small group event that I did a workshop for. That was fun. And then I'm traveling to Palm Springs because I'm speaking at Alt Summit in March. So business-wise, those are the things I'm focused on right now, and just like maintaining my regular content strategy and everything like that. So clients, students, updates to content and curriculum, traveling, children, somehow fitting in a marriage and an overseas move.
How about your free time? What do you do in your free time?
Oh gosh, I like to hike. My husband and I actually just for Christmas invested in a lot of backpacking gear.
Oh, cool.
So like a really nice tent and really good mats and like good sleeping bags and like lightweight, so super lightweight gear. I spent way too much money, thousands of dollars. Because when we get overseas, we want to go to like Switzerland and do backpacking trips with the kids and stuff. So still got a couple of things we need to buy for them, but that's what we do a lot in our free time is hiking. Like we live in Tucson, and if my building was faced the right way, you could see the mountain range right behind us. We live like right at the base. So we can hike in a mile from our house or drive in about 24 miles to the top of the mountain. And then along the way, there's stops everywhere. We do a lot of hiking here in Tucson. It's fantastic for that, especially in the winter because it's only like 65 degrees.
Nice. Which
I know, Paula, TravelCon's in my backyard, but I'm going to be at Alt Summit when they're here.
Yeah, funny enough, I was about like, it's the same people that do FinCon, they do TravelCon, and I was I might check it out, but I don't remember what time of year. Like I also was like, I can't do it. There's something else going on. So,
there's so many conferences happening right in that same like week and a half. There's another one in Florida that I was invited to as a guest. I can't go to that one either because travel, like they're all overlapping.
Right.
And I'm speaking at Alt Summit, which is a huge deal. So
yeah, what is that one? I'm not familiar.
Alt Summit's owned by Gabrielle Blair. She's been doing it for, I want to say like 10 plus years. And It's called Altitude Summit, Alt Summit for short. And they focus on makers and creators and like small businesses, and it's really fantastic. They have, if you're a maker at all, it's like the place to be.
Interesting.
So
okay, how many people?
Maker like content creator maker?
No, like makers of things.
Physical things. Cool. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But they also have a lot of content creator stuff there too. So
yeah,
definitely a wide array of things. They used to host it in Palm Springs at the Saguaro hotel, I think, and it was like the really colorful hotel that you see in photos a lot, and like it's like a mid-century modern hotel, and like all the walls are like different colors. It's really very pretty. So I'm going there. I have a table on Saturday, the 15th of March, that I'll be doing Pinterest questions. It's like, so like people can come up and ask me anything they want.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And we have a question from David. So you kind of mentioned it. Where are you moving? And you don't have to go super deep into details and such, but
yeah, we're moving to the Netherlands. We have about 82 days to go. We've been researching and planning for about 3 years, so this isn't like a sudden thing for us. Like, it's been in progress for years. So that's where we're going. We just want to get to Europe, really, and then from there we can explore.
Gotcha. What's like the biggest challenge like coming up over the next couple months here then?
It's the bureaucracy in the United States. Like last week, I started an LLC that I'm going to put my home in, because we're going to do a rental house. This is my foray into real estate, right? That isn't like what I own. I had an LLC and an EIN number in 20 minutes. I've been working on getting a corporation set up and like legalized and like a mailbox and everything for almost 4 weeks in the Netherlands. Like, it's the bureaucracy that's the hardest part. Everything else is fine.
Yeah.
It's just like getting the legalities in place so I can actually show up and declare that I'm there for a visa that's not going to be a Schengen visa. So.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. Question for me is, going to Europe or Netherlands, is it at all work related or family, or is it pure like life adventure?
Life adventure.
That's so cool. I dig that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we used to travel in an RV full time. And
okay, cool.
Yeah, the pandemic kind of stopped us from doing that. The world closed down, national parks, RV parks, everything stopped reservations, and then they raised their prices so high that it was just not affordable. So we ended up buying a house and settling back in. But our daughter is starting high school in the next school year. So this is like the last opportunity we would have to do anything like this. And my business makes enough money that my husband doesn't need to work. So we're just going to go over there. I do everything online. So we're just going to go do it from there.
Love it. That's super cool. So 20 years ago, I lived in a van for 6 months in New Zealand, but that's my extent of
Brooke.
That's my extent of the lifestyle. Although, motivated by people like you that live that lifestyle, that like I just met at FinCon, I just bought a so it's now my daily driver, but it's like a camper van. So, but it's my daily driver, so it's a little small van, and I've only camped one night in it. I've owned it like 4 months now. But in April, I plan to take like a week and go up to the northwest of Alabama. That's where I live, Alabama, and just like explore a section up there. And I am pumped. I don't even know my exact dates yet, but I got to figure it out. But I'm pretty excited.
I thought you were going to say the Northwest, like Oregon, and you're like Northwest Alabama. It's like fuck.
Northwest Alabama. I mean, this is like close trip. I mean, this is like 5 or 6 hours up the but it's a part of my state I've never explored before, and so I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah,
nice.
You should then. Anyways, David, I hope that answers your question, and lots of exploration ahead.
Yeah. That's cool, Brooks. You did the time in New Zealand. That's pretty neat. And then Heather, go ahead. Yeah.
Like New Zealand in a van is a dream of mine and my husband's. Like it's on our bucket list.
I hope so. It was 20 years ago for me, and I haven't been back. And like, I hope to eventually maybe travel, go back with like my wife. My son's older now; he's about to graduate high school and like adjusting his life path. But like, yeah, I would like to go back. But to get over there is no joke. Like I would not want to go for just a week or 2 weeks. Like it's a, I mean,
Mm-mm.
it's a giant trip just to make it there. So yeah, yeah, totally recommended. And the country is pretty cool with people traveling in like camper vans around the country.
Mhm.
I mean, it's kind of like part of their, almost a part of their like,
Their culture.
like they're good with it. Yeah, it's part of their culture. Yeah, it's not like frowned upon. It's like they're totally cool with people traveling that way. So,
I think what's interesting, you went 20 years ago, is like so different, right? Like we didn't have smartphones and the technology and all that stuff. Like you were so unplugged. And if you went
he's
back
got, like,
now,
maps and stuff.
yeah. What did I have 20 years ago?
MapQuest.
I don't know. I had a little like burner phone. Yeah, I had, international phone, SIM phone. I was probably slow texting or whatever. Trading numbers.
What?
I don't know. Yeah, I probably was pretty low tech for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think the hard part now is like we're older. So I'd be like, I couldn't do things as, what word am I? Like things would have to be a little bit more luxurious. Like I'm not staying in nope, I'm not staying in a hostel.
I'm not staying in a hut.
Yeah. I mean, some people do, but it's just, not me. But
Yeah.
it would be a little different.
Yeah, my wife laughs at me because she's like, dude, you would totally live in a hut. I'm totally game to live in a hut and like live in this van, me having this van as like a sampler into the lifestyle. And then maybe, I'll take her somewhere. And then if she likes it, then maybe eventually we'll get another one or something in the future.
I have a business idea for you, Brooks.
Please.
So I had a client. She actually teaches people how to build vans that you basically Airbnb.
Yeah. Really funny because when I was shopping for the van that I bought, I found one that was a converted ambulance, and I was like, this van is dope. I was like, this would be a super cool Airbnb. I actually even contemplated like maybe getting it, but I was like, I have to like go fly out here and like hopefully it works, and then like drive it home. Anyways, actually the van I bought, I took a Greyhound bus 6 hours north and drove it back. And my wife was like, well, like what happens if you don't buy the van? I was like, I don't know. I guess I'll figure out how to get home. Like, I guess I'll get another bus home or something. That's a great idea. Yeah. Vans as Airbnbs sounds really cool. Like people are all about like unique stays for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I haven't rented one yet, but yeah, they have something called Outdoorsy, which I'm sure both of y'all
have rented from there.
Okay. Yeah, it looks great because I'm at this point, like I think the same about like mountain houses or vans or whatever. I will rent one. I don't want to buy one. I don't want to have the overhead and the maintenance and whatever, the tire insurance and some jerks renting it and then making a mess of it or whatever. So I will rent them from other people though. I think that's a great way for me to have variety, but other people like to have their own space and all that stuff. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the renting. Have I told you in the past that on Turo we rented cars at like our vehicles on Turo, and both of the cars we rented out on Turo have come back with spare tires on them. Kid you not.
Jeez.
Pretty crazy. Yeah. Now, maybe not the drivers, but like they both. It's ironic that they both had situations that brought the cars back with spare tires. So
yeah.
That's been my Turo experience.
Very interesting. So funny thing, Heather, when I was like, hey, what hobbies do you have? I was, I'm glad you answered. It was good to learn more about you. I was like, you obviously don't have time for hobbies because of the million things that you listed that you were doing. You were like, I'm going on this trip. I got another thing. I have kids. I'm a wife. I do this other. And I was like, you're very busy, but you were like, oh yeah, we got hobbies. So kudos to you.
We do have hobbies, and I do read books. I probably watch more YouTube channels than read books these days. I'm really digging all the education you can find on YouTube. So I'm really into like history, STEM, and philosophy. So I spend a lot of time, like I'll listen to those on YouTube while I'm cooking dinner and things like that. So I'm like feeding my brain something. But,
Right. What kind of stuff do you like to read?
I'm like deep into all sorts of American history, and now consuming a lot more on Nazis in World War II. So it's kind of heavy right now. Heather Cox Richardson is my favorite American historian. So I've read all of her books. I read her newsletter all the time. And then her friend Joanne Freeman is also an American historian, and I consume a lot of her content. So a lot of American history specifically. But yeah, I've never kind of forayed into the World War II, like European battlefronts and things like that. So as far as history is concerned, that's newer to me other than what I learned in school. And then I just love science. So I learn a lot about all sorts of science things, just like random animals and the ocean and
Everything.
just anything. Like, I'm just a very curious person. So
Gotcha. I did. Yeah, you know what? I haven't studied much history like outside of college. I went to an engineering school, so there wasn't a ton of history, but I actually really enjoyed one of my professors, and he focused on the South, like in general. I went to school at Georgia Tech, so we were in the South, but he focused on a lot of like post 1863, basically. So post Civil War stuff. So I read a bunch of stuff on that, but obviously that was a super long time ago. But yeah, nowadays I'm trying to think the last time I read anything like actual like history based. Yeah, not too much. What about you, Brooks?
I don't read well.
I don't read well.
I should read more. On the book thing, I go through phases. I go through phases of reading. Sometimes I'll have like 5 books going at once, and I read little bits in each one. And then I'll go like long swaths of time with like no reading whatsoever. I'm in a no read phase. Yeah,
I'm the same. I listen. I have to listen and find like blocks of time because just my schedule generally doesn't allow for me to sit down, and I will fall asleep. That's really what it is. I will sit down with a book and I will fall asleep, or I'll read the same page 12 times and I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah. I definitely listen more as well. And like now, I for sure consume more podcasts than books. I actually work out to podcast. I know I don't work out as hard listening to podcasts for sure, because you're not like all pumped up with some music, but it's just like one of the times where I listen and learn as well while I'm working out. So
my trainer listens to comedy while she works out.
Oh, interesting.
You'll try that sometime.
I've definitely I listened to some podcast while working out. The danger is like you start laughing when you're holding something heavy over you, and you're like, okay, this is dangerous.
I gotta re-engage my core.
Yeah. Interesting. And then I was gonna say I read a ton of fiction. I read fiction at night before I go to bed, like fairly consistently. I really want to get
back into reading fiction, and that's a goal of mine for later this year.
Yeah, it's I have a great time, and for a couple years, like I stopped reading nonfiction. I just picked it back up this year a little bit, but I was reading a lot of like productivity and self-help and business books, and at some point I was just like, I'm bored with this. There's a lot of regurgitation of just content. I'm like, I know that study. Like, yeah, I'm done with this stuff. So I did hop back in.
I don't care for the self-help stuff.
Yeah. And at some point I was just like, if I just did the thing in the one book, I'd be fine. I don't need to read like 50 of these books, you know? It's the same stuff. But currently
read one and take action. Read one and take action versus reading like a dozen or whatever. Yeah, totally with you.
But if I could recommend for everyone a couple books, if you haven't read them, one's Die with Zero and the other one is 4,000 Weeks. Have you guys read those?
I haven't
Die with Zero, I have.
Okay. Yeah. Die with Zero, pretty good. Like it kind of encourages you. to spend a little bit more money if you have the means to. And then the other one, the other like big thing is like to time bucket the activities that you want to do. So Heather, you mentioned it's a bucket list item to travel New Zealand in a van, do that. You'll probably want to do that. I'm just making it up, but like probably before you're 55. So you have a handful of years to do it.
So our kids will be out within the next 9 years, into both of them in college, and my husband and I we're gone after that. We had kids very young, so we'll be in our mid 40s when they leave the house.
Okay.
So
you'll have plenty.
It's happening.
Yeah. And you work for yourself, so that opens it up. And some people, they end up working until they're like, a more traditional retirement age. And then they're like, I'm too frail to do all this stuff that I was putting off for the last 40 years.
The Die with Zero book sounds like a philosophy I hold anyways, of just like, okay, so when I was a teenager and my husband and I started dating, which we've been together since high school, which is like an oddity. It's also an oddity that he's been in the military and we haven't been divorced. Very high divorce rate. But when I was a teenager, I would go to his house all the time, and his grandfather's RV was just like parked in the driveway, and it just sat there like collecting dust for years. And they were in their late 50s, early 60s. And now one part of that marriage has passed away, and the grandfather is still alive, but he's in like his late 80s, and they never used the RV ever. They never traveled. They never did anything. They just stayed at home. And I don't want to be that way. That's part of the reason why we're moving to Europe and taking our kids and just going, because we want to live our lives now. Yep.
That's great.
So,
super cool. Respect. Yeah. I have so much respect for that. Like, I'm, obviously like personal finance stuff. I'm the like, hey, save for the future. Let's be really responsible. Let's like cut and do all this. And my wife's a bit more on the YOLO side. Like, and so, us trying to find a kind of like work together and figure out like, cool, what's this happy medium to like try to, hey, we may live another 40 years. So let's save some cash, but like, hey, let's also try to like live experiences now, because we might actually die tomorrow. We may actually die tomorrow. So,
my husband and I have the same balance, Brooks. So he's more of the YOLO and I'm more of the, let's make sure we are saving for retirement, at least maxing 401ks. Like that's the minimum we can do, but there are so many ways that you can position yourself for experiences outside of your norm that are totally doable if you have the right job, which I do.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Actually, a cool life thing for people to do is to actually like list out and write all the things they think they want to do. And it's kind of interesting to go through those, because people will find, or like I found, and people find that like you can literally do some of those now, and they may not even take all that much money. Like you just have to like put some time and energy and effort towards some of the things, right? Maybe it's like learn a musical instrument or something like that. It's not all that much money, but like you just gotta focus and like do it. You can start that now,
Yeah, we were literally just talking about this yesterday. I'm one of those people, I haven't really thought very far into the future about things that I want to do, but I have like some things I know I want to do. And my husband's like, I want to play a musical instrument, or like I want to learn how to play piano, or like learn how to surf. I'm like, you can just start doing those things now.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
And great discussion. Quick note, I'm hearing almost like a wind noise. Does anyone else hear? Okay. Oh, she must have opened the window. Okay.
Wind.
I was like, I hear something. Okay. Thank you.
All good. It's me. Sorry.
Hopefully it won't get too hot in there. So we got about 15 minutes left. If there's any great question or any questions in great or not, any questions in the chat, that'll be great. We can cover those. And since we're talking about books and stuff, so I think 4,000 Weeks and Die with Zero like fit together really well. And some people may be sort of triggered by the Die with Zero idea. It's like a great name. And I know some people are like, you know what? That's bad advice to die with zero. It's a metaphor, people. Like, just, it's a good title. Yeah. It's just some things you'll disagree with, some other things you'll be like, oh, that's a good idea. And to your, actually both of your points where like, you write down maybe your bucket list or things you want to do. And one really valuable thing you could do is like put it into say 5 or 10 year windows where you're like, I should probably do this international travel and outdoor activities like summiting mountains when you're younger, because you may not be able to do it as much when you're older, but maybe going on cruises or riding on cross-country trains, then you could do those when you're older. You don't have to be as physically able. Now, 4,000 weeks really emphasizes that we only have 4,000 weeks and you can't do everything. And one thing that I've observed, especially, I mean, we're all working for ourselves, but I have some friends that have like corporate jobs and they actually have enough money to retire. They could go ahead and stop, but they're sort of tied up with their identity. And my huge thing is that even if they do enjoy their job and they can, potentially be more careless with money, the biggest thing is the opportunity cost. Because like if they're saying, yes, I'm going to go to work and I'm going to work for whatever, even if it's part-time, let's say it's 30 hours a week, but those guys are actually working like 50 hours a week or something. They could do something else with their time, like spend it with their family or whatever, and it'll probably be better than continuing to work. And I just, like, I don't push them because like for whatever reason they have some hang up. And the thing is like the money thing, which is difficult to amass a few $1 million, but they've done it. And it's like they could just stop and then do whatever the fuck they want. But for some reason, they're continuing to work at like a big company. And somehow editorializing this, but like they've somehow convinced themselves that like they really like the job and they really like making a huge amount of money for some big corporation. And I'm like, who gives a fuck? Like you should be spending time with your family or hiking or going outdoors or like reading or whatever thing. Cause like at some point, like we're all as young as we're ever going to be right now. And as healthy as we're going to be, most likely. So 4,000 weeks it's a pretty good one. It's like 73 years, something like that. So
yeah, I'll check that one out too. Yeah, that's interesting.
Good audiobooks. So, but both of those are solid audiobooks. All right. Well, as we're coming up to the last few minutes here, Heather, what do you have coming up over the next few weeks? I know you do quite a few live streams and I appreciate you taking the time to join me today. Yeah.
My co-host and I are talking, I don't know what we're talking about. She planned all the live streams for this next round, so I can tell you.
Sure.
We have tomorrow, let's see. Yeah, tomorrow we're talking about whether or not you should start a Substack. Topics like, do you give away too much content in your free content? Like, do you give too much away in your free content? Do you need a blog at all? Outsourcing social media, things like that business owners are really always thinking and talking about. Content-wise for me, I'm working on a piece right now because I keep getting this question of sharing buttons for WordPress, specific to Pinterest in my case, but it's a topic that keeps coming up. So I'm going to write an affiliate blog and film an affiliate video and detail the tool I use, and then share a couple of other resources that people can also use. And hopefully it's helpful to people, and also maybe I'll earn some money on it. So
nice.
That's what I'm working on.
You produce a lot of content. Do you ever start getting burned out?
I do. I loved to create content though, and I love solving problems. So I often see my content and my content creation as problem solving for people. So even if it solves like one person's problem, I know that's been helpful for people. But I also have just like this thread that I pull on of, is it going to serve me long term? Is it good evergreen? Am I going to be able to rank on Google and, get some traffic to this? So as long as it kind of hits some of those boxes, I'm okay with producing content that I might not see a return on right away. I also just generate a lot of sales into my membership, into my digital products and services just by creating content. So like not every single piece of content I create needs to have an immediate ROI. So I really just love producing content for YouTube specifically, and then in my membership. So
Gotcha.
if I could do that full time, I would.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
good
pretty much,
answer.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you so one thing I did, which generally like ran my channel into the ground, I would produce content that I wanted to do. And you hear of like maybe actors or producers or any content producer, right? Could be musician as well. But it's like, all right, I'll do these things. Like, it'll bring in some customers. It will do, it'll help your overall company. But then what I ended up doing was like these long form chats, which generally do horrible on YouTube
Yeah.
because like they're too long, they're meandering, and sometimes there's no real point to the whole thing. But I have a blast, and I hope you guys had fun too. So do you do content, Heather, where you're like, this one's for me, and I don't even care if anybody else
That's what
watches it?
Jana and I do on our weekly lives.
Mm,
My co-host Jana Osofsky, she's also a Pinterest marketing person. Like she was for years. Now she's really deep into content strategy. We met when Clubhouse first came out during the pandemic, and we had a Clubhouse for a long time, and that grew, and it was really very popular. Like we had the biggest Pinterest Clubhouse house on the platform or whatever. So we got a lot of visibility and traffic from that. And then we converted it once Clubhouse started to die to YouTube Live. So that's kind of where we do our just chit chats like this. Sometimes they're 20 minutes, sometimes they're an hour, but we always book out an hour for our time so we can allow for it.
sure.
But yeah, those weekly lives are kind of where we discuss and meander,
Got it.
and I like them.
Yeah. It's basically all the stuff that I have been doing over the last few years, it's distilled down to that where I'm just like talking with people. Occasionally I'll do a solo stuff, but like generally I'm having a conversation I want to have. So
Yeah.
it all makes sense. Awesome. Well, we linked up in the description here so people could check out your channel if they haven't already. And it sounds like you're doing live streams at least once a week. Now, Brooks, what's going on with you? I know, we had a couple topics pop up and we chatted through a few, but I do know that you have like some domaining stuff that you were sort of rolling out, but feel free to let me know what you got going on over the next few weeks or months.
Yeah, I could chat on that. I was. It was interesting to hear y'all talk about like your content creation and what you're making and like how you choose what you're making. I feel like I'm kind of similar to y'all in that. Like I don't just make what I want to make, but I definitely don't chase the what the algorithm is telling me and make more of something if I don't want to make more of something. That's kind of how I've gone. I also like won't let myself get burned out. There's been a lot of times where I'm like, I could do this, but I'm like, nah, I'll get like burned out or frustrated. And so for me to keep my sanity and enjoy, like I have to enjoy what I'm doing. Or I try my best at least to enjoy, most of it. Like, it kind of follows a rhythm rather than like some strict pattern. But I don't know, I'll probably create stuff for the rest of my life. I think it's just like, as a human, like we're meant to like make stuff, whether that's like digital or physical or whatever. But like, I think I'll continue being a creative. And I think everyone technically is like some sort of creative, like in their lives. But yeah, I'm doing all kinds of stuff. Like every week in my newsletter, I'm like, here's crazy stuff I'm kind of working on or whatever. So I fooled my wife with an AI voice. I'm staring at that like right now. Because that was a video I did. So 11 labs I have my own version of my voice, and it's to help me with like some B-roll footage and videos and stuff. But I was like, I wonder if I can get my wife on this anyway. So I just made like a short clip of like, I love you. And I sent it to her via text. She did not know it was not me. It was a robot Brooks. But yeah,
good.
yeah, that was pretty crazy. Domain name investing though. Yeah. I'm like, so I accidentally, to give you 30 seconds on that, I accidentally sold a domain name like, I don't know, it's probably been about a year ago now. I say accidentally because it was a name from my previous real estate company that I wasn't renewing, and I clicked some button in my account. I didn't even know what it meant. I was like, oh, listed on the marketplace. And I sold it for like $1,200. And so I don't know why right then I wasn't like, this is amazing. Like, let me get anyways, but it took me about a year. But now I'm like, I'm diving in as one of my income streams to do that. I've sold 0 since then. I've now acquired probably 150 names, and I think I may even need to get to like the 500 minimum mark to make it like some of them to actually sell passively. I have a few listed with a broker who I actually just interviewed recently, and I'm going to do some outbounding. So I have some people that are going to help me like reach out to people that I think some of these names would be like good fits for. So,
Gotcha.
But yeah, update every week.
That's cool. Well, yeah, and I put a link over at Destroy That Box so people can sign up for your email list there. I'm on there. And I was going to say, I'm in a spot where I'm like, I don't care about these stupid domains. I'm getting rid of them. So I will, I'll let you know, because some of them are actually pretty good and have history and all that kind of stuff. So like I could sell them to you. You can get them out there on the marketplace, especially if you need to add a bunch of them. I'll give you a great deal, man.
Send them my way, man. Send them my way. I'll check them out for sure.
All right.
100%.
Very good. Well, thanks you two for joining. Thanks everybody for hopping on the chat here. And last thing, Paula mentions that it's a reference to your interview, pivoting from accounting to being creative. So, yeah, Heather, do you want to give just a quick word on that?
Yeah. Well, I went to college for accounting, management, and finance because I realized when I was coming, to graduation in high school that my dream of working for NASA as an engineer just wasn't going to work. There was just way too much math involved, and I had this boyfriend that I really wanted to hang out with. So not that he stopped me. He did not stop me. I'm married to this man now. Like, he's never stopped me from pursuing my dreams. I stopped me from doing that. But I also just got a crap score on my ACT. So I was like, who's going to take me? What school? And I found one that would take me, and I went for accounting, and it was just like typical teenage decision making, and I hated it. And I still hate it, and I'll never do it again. I do my own bookkeeping, and I have a very good understanding of, general understanding of accounting in general, and it has helped me run my business.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense. Yeah.
It did not make me happy, and I can see why people in that field have a high, rate of offing themselves. It's not it's not a field that I would want to spend a lot of time in. So
yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I love marketing though.
Yeah, marketing's pretty fun. Yeah. It is interesting, like the people that end up doing digital marketing, online business, in a lot of like I kind of had an entrepreneurship background as a kid, but like not everybody does, but like some people just work better for themselves, and I definitely work better for myself. I think we all fall into that.
Curiosity that is key for me. Like I mentioned earlier, and with all the topics I'm interested in, like I'm just very curious about everything. I want to know how things work. I tend to take things apart and like put them back together. I think I probably could be like some sort of engineer that does things like that. Like I have I could have a desire for that, and be good at it. I watched my dad when I was growing up and my brothers like tear trucks apart and put them back together. And like, I was right in the midst of all of it. So yeah, that I took that curiosity into entrepreneurship, and I think it's key for success, honestly. Just always being willing to learn, always learning, like Brooke said earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. Awesome. Well, we could keep going forever, but I know we got to get going here. Let's wrap it up. Thanks again, everybody. Be sure to check out Heather and Brooks. Again, links in the description, and we'll talk to you both soon. And we'll stay on here for like 1 minute after I end it here, but we'll just say goodbye there. All right. Thanks, y'all.
Cool.
Bye.
Enjoyed it.